Now, regarding the kind of analysis that I'm making, economics sometimes goes different kinds of ways. Sometimes it's highly mathematical, econometric, but one of the giants of economics was Alfred Marshall, the bane of many students, undergraduate students' lives, his textbook, and he said, the economist, like everyone else, must concern himself or herself with the ultimate aims of man. With the ultimate aims of man. That's a pretty comprehensive kind of statement. Now, I am not, thank God, a politician. I believe politicians need lots of prayers and lots of courage, and Cathy has them in spades. But economists cannot divorce themselves from the responsibility of going where the analysis leads them. So, 4 or 5 questions. Where did we come from? Where do we now? How did we get here? What will it take to move forward? And the conclusion that I reach is, I believe we need what I call a new politics. Not a new political party, but a new politics that will transform Ireland and its potential to contribute to what is a wholly new world, including Europe. A wholly new world. I think we need a new politics. Politics that's based on searching into ourselves and saying, maybe we wanted the wrong thing. But certainly the kind of responses that we need to extricate ourselves and to remake our history for our young people, we need something different. We don't just need change, we need transformation. I'm going to come back to those, you'll be glad to know. I'm not going to spend time on these. I just simply mapped here what I call the secondary causes of the global financial crisis. And the secondary causes, you can read them. Don't worry about them, guys. If you can't see them at the back, it's not a problem. You can map out the kind of proximate secondary causes from the subprime crisis to US monetary policy getting it wrong, to low interest rates for too long, to securitization. You can map out all that, but they are essentially secondary causes. I suppose what would worry me is a little bit is the last two. We're back from the brink from now. Last October, September, we came very, very close. We came very close to a breakdown of what you could only call the central nervous system of the globalized economy. Markets were frozen over. There was a total absence of trust. So we're back from the brink, and we have a little time. It has left us with a very malign legacy. And there are 2 things of that legacy that would worry me. One in particular, we have built up, in our efforts to mitigate the crisis, governments worldwide have built up quite enormous contingent liabilities. Or to put it another way, they have found money to spend, which none of us knew they had. If you notice, there was a time 2 years ago when millions was a lot, and then the currency was billions, and now we're talking trillions. We have invested a lot of money. At a purely monetary level, that may come back to haunt us in terms of inflation down the line. But what it also does is paints us into a corner. It means that the young generation, we have no cards left to play. The IOUs are piling up. The contingent liabilities are piling up. And whatever people say about the green shoots of recovery, you watch Bloomberg and you will see that we are bumping along at the bottom of a very deep trough, a trough which we have simply never seen before. So, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Where have we come from? If you went back just 2 or 3 years, say 2006, what we saw was unemployment, if you look at the red line, unemployment just falling to full employment levels from the 1990s. That's this one here. What you also see is GDP growth, and that's the blue line. What we're talking about very, very good rates of growth, and that means jobs and incomes and so on and so forth. We're talking about 6%, and we're talking about inflation rates that are, what I would say, is healthy. So that's where we've come from, and I've just taken 3 measures, and that was just 2-3 years ago. Now, I'm going to go through these quickly. What we're seeing here is GDP, which is the aggregate of all we produce measured one way or another. We're seeing that beginning to fall off alarmingly. We're seeing all these lines at the bottom where unemployment plotted from 2003 onwards. The one going northwards is the monthly unemployment rate for 2008 and extending into 2009. Let's consider for a minute what this actually means. Kathy very eloquently captured it in what she said about a constituent. But the only way I can describe it is a cold hand on the heart. I want people here just to imagine for a moment. Just close your eyes and imagine. Suppose on Monday you go into work. And you're given an hour and a week or a month's wages to go. Credit cards, mortgages, kids' fees, accepted standard of living. You're given a week. That's it. That's the price that's put on you. That's happening all the time. Or if you're a business and the bank calls you in and an overdraft of 15 or 20,000, which is part of your normal currency, that's pulled. That tips you over the edge. Or if it's a family, how do you come home and tell your kids and your wife or your husband, no job, slows down? How do you come to terms with that? And some of the anecdotal evidence on the medical side of people presenting at psychiatric consultants' offices, it's pretty compelling. There is a very significant increase in the incidence of what might be called psychosocial stress, very alarming stress. So think of the business person, think of the family, and think of you going in on Monday morning and finding job's gone, have to let you go. Now, that's really what we're trying to address here today and get our head round and see, can we diagnose what the root cause of the problem is? To put a human face in that, I've plotted here the unemployment figures nationally and for Cork City and for the state and for Cork County. Now, if you look at the first graph, 2008, there were 181,000 people unemployed in the state on the social welfare register. 181,000. There's now 371,000. In Cork County, there were 18,000 people. There's now 36,000. In the state, in the city, what's the figure? 8,200 up to 16,000. Now that's a doubling right the way through. That is extraordinary. So it goes from your local unemployment or social welfare office where your kids pass on the way home from school. It goes to the wider Cork County and it goes to the state.